Hello, team. Welcome to my session on Coffee with Prabh. And today we have Mr. Krish, my brother. I thought that is a good opportunity. I'm starting a new series on, what is AWS Cloud, and by this particular video, I would like to build a portfolio of the people who want to start their career in cloud and they want to know what is cloud. So I thought, let me disturb my brother, okay, because I can know him, so I can call him anytime in my session. So and the best thing about Krish is he giving back to society with his free knowledge and all that. So I thought, let me make a one joint session where we discuss about how to learn cloud and all that. So this series is all about learn with Prab and Krish. What is cloud? Hi, Cloud. Sorry, hi, Krish. How are you?
Hey, Prab. Hi. Hi, everyone.
Sorry,
This is Krish.
I'm sorry. I always see your cloud post and cloud post, so that's why I said
Yeah,
cloud.
yeah.
So எப்படி இருக்கீங்க நல்லா இருக்கீங்க.
ரொம்ப நல்லா இருக்கேன்.
That's great.
Yes.
So it is good to see you back in my series, and I'm going to learn so many things in next 1 hour from you. I'm sure, and you are a good teacher, no doubt in that. But I don't know whether you handle such kind of a student, which is named Prab Nair, who want to learn cloud.
Yeah, it's proud to have actually.
So Krish, I am a newbie. Okay, I
Okay.
don't know about AWS.
Mhm.
Please teach me from basic. What is AWS?
Okay.
And how to create a first machine in AWS. What is the function of the interface?
Okay. So basically, first of all, if a person want to log into any cloud platform, like if a person want to start learning any cloud platform, like it can be AWS or it can be Azure,
Hmm,
GCP, Alibaba, any platform. Normally, we have multiple ways to access the cloud platform. First of all,
hmm,
we have something called as a, let's say we have a AWS management. If you go to AWS, we have a AWS Management Console. If you go to Azure, we have a Azure portal. Like this, for every cloud service providers, we have a management console there, and using that management console is what we log into that.
Okay,
And
before we go into discover this management console and all that, can you
okay.
just practically show us this? Because there's a lot of resources are available which talk about this, but I want to know practically how things work. So please let me know what is the first step we should do if you want to use AWS cloud.
See, if I want to use AWS Cloud Platform, there are two things we have to be aware of. One is that we
Hmm,
must have an AWS account. So I'll
okay.
definitely show you the whole process of how to create a AWS account. What is the
Hmm,
benefits you get as a starter when you go to a cloud account and all.
hmm,
Then I'll show you the cloud infrastructure, like basically how the AWS cloud infrastructure is basically designed and
hmm,
how to choose a proper region. When you basically go to a cloud platform, we have a very important concept called as a regions and availability zones. So I will tell
yeah.
you how to what is the difference, and
Hmm,
then we will discuss regarding how to choose a proper region. What is the criteria for choosing the proper region for our requirements?
okay, fine.
So shall we start with the uh, account creation part first? Then
Yeah,
I'll show you
yeah,
the global
please.
info. Yep. Okay. So team, if you want to basically create a cloud account, okay, the first thing is that before you start creating any cloud account, I hope you can see my screen, Prab.
Yeah, I can see your screen.
Yeah, the first thing is that you must definitely have a proper email address with you. Like you must have an email address which like any email address is fine. You must have a working email address with you, plus you also must have a contact number, and you must have a credit card or debt card. And please note, rupee card is not accepted for a quite long time. You must have a email address, a contact number, and
Visa or
a
Mastercard.
Visa card, Mastercard, or some kind of any
Hmm,
credit card, debt card will fine. If you go to Azure, they only accept credit cards, but here you can go for anything, no problem.
okay.
So first of all, if you want to create a AWS account, the first thing which we have to go for, I will show you just a walkthrough first of all. Then we will basically, I'll show you the slide part. See, this
Hmm.
is the console which we have to always go for, which is basically what we call as a AWS.amazon.com. There is a
I
console.
cannot see the URL. I cannot see the URL.
No problem. I'll just share you once again. There is something crash happen. Yeah, this is the console which we have to go through, which is called as a AWS.amazon.com. So once
Okay.
you basically go to this particular URL, you will be able to see an option called as a create a new account or
Hmm,
create an AWS account. And
hmm.
this is where we start creating an
Okay.
AWS account.
Okay.
So it's quite simple. Once you click on create an AWS account, they will take you to a page like this.
Okay.
Okay, this is the page where we have to enter our email address. So this email address must be a working active email address, because what
When you say
happens,
working active email address, it means Gmail ID or it
it
can
can
be
be
any.
anything. It can be anything. It can be a Gmail ID. It can be a corporate official email address. It can be Yahoo, whatever. It can be. It must be in a proper email address, which they will basically verify by the OTP.
Okay.
Okay, so we have to enter the proper email address, and there is an account name. So, Prab, this account name is a very important thing. In fact, when people talk about this creating AWS account, the account name is something which they will put some random things.
Hmm.
But especially when you go to a cloud platform or anything, you must have a proper tagging. Like, in enterprise, we always follow the process of tagging and labeling
Hmm. Hmm.
for things to be properly understood. Like the same way, when you create an account, you can give your name, your company name, your project name, type of account, like development account, production account. So
Hmm.
whatever name you can give, but give a proper sensible name here.
But what do you mean account here?
See,
Normally, example, email address, I know, okay, it can
okay.
be used for login and all that. What is the purpose of account name here?
See, like for example, now this account name is something which is just for a reference. This can be changed further, but this is for a reference for you. Like, like to call you, like, you are calling me Krish. Like the same way to call your account, there
Hmm.
must be an account name. That's it.
So are we going to use the same account name for login on
You can use
AWS
the
console?
email address. This is just an account name. You can log in with the email address.
So it is same like, when you're creating a Gmail account, you give an
Yes.
email address and you give
Yeah.
the display name. Display name or your profile name is your
The
account
same
name
thing.
here.
Exactly.
Okay. My second question is that suppose you to right now creating account name with Krish.
Okay.
Can I create a same account name with Krish?
So account name can be like, you can put any name you want, and you can also modify it later, which is not a problem for us.
Okay, but my question is that will they accept the same name if they call it already created by someone else?
Yes, yes, definitely. Because
Okay, so it's more like a your name kind of a thing, right? When you're
like
creating email address.
exactly, like for your reference, like for
Okay,
example, in my team, okay, this is a production account, so I can give production. That's it. It's up to me.
okay, okay,
Yeah.
fine.
So once we give this, we will click on something called as a verify email address. So
Hmm.
once you click on that verify email address, and the next step is that they will send you a email or a
Hmm.
OTP to that particular email address you have given. That is the reason why I'm saying you must have a valid email address now.
Okay.
So you just copy that email, that verification code you're getting on the over email, and
Hmm.
you can just paste it here. And once you've done this, next immediate step is that you will be asked to enter your contact information.
Okay.
So this is something where they will ask you the first thing: do you want to create an account for your company, or do you want to create an account for your personal purpose? So even if you select the first or second option, I hope you can see it here, the business
Yeah.
and personal. So
Hmm.
even if you go to any of these options, it's completely fine, because this is just, if you put your business account, they will ask you for your, like the corporate address and all. If you take personal, they will ask your personal address. That's the only difference. But there is no difference between showing up if you're selecting business account or personal account. It's completely fine.
Okay.
Okay, so you can select any of these things and give your proper information, including your contact number, address, and and the postal code also.
Okay.
And by doing this, you are creating an AWS account. This is a very important step which most people don't know, because
Okay.
even if we have further steps coming, but still, any which way, after you click on this step, your account is getting created in real.
Hmm.
Okay, so once you do this, the next important thing is that you will basically have something called as a billing information. So normally, like, when you create a AWS account, this is something where we are not mocking something. It's a real AWS account. That means it's a real access you're getting to a cloud provider's data center. So
Okay.
they want to verify your identity. They don't want basically any random guys to basically create an account and make mistakes. So what they
Okay.
do is that they want to make sure that they verify your information. Plus, there must be a proper payment method available. So you have to enter your credit card information here. Credit card or debit card, it's fine. You can enter your credit card and debit card information here.
Hmm.
And obviously, once you do this, they will, if you are from India, they will charge you 2 rupees INR.
Okay.
And if you are from outside India, it's for every other country, it's $1, one US dollar.
Okay.
And within 3 to 5 days, that money is also refunded. So it's not a problem. And after that, they will definitely ask you to basically go to the bank page. Like, they will take you to the bank page. Like if you're using a credit card from a bank called as HDFC, they will basically take you to the page of HDFC where you have to enter with the means OTP and all. Once this is completed, the next step is that they will verify your contact number. So this is basically where you have to enter your proper contact number and give you, and they will completely, they will give you a call or they will give you a message where we
Hmm.
have to verify this. And once it is completed, this is the verification step. Once it is completed, your account is completely created and everything is fine.
Okay.
Okay, now just I want to just add one more point here. There is many people tell me that, Krish, after doing this particular credit card information here, I am not able to verify it, showing some error to me. It's completely, if you're getting some error at this point of time, just wait for some 3-4 hours and try it again. Else contact the AWS support. That's it. They will help you with that for sure.
Okay.
And once this is completed, the next step is basically called as a support plan. Okay, the support
Hmm.
plan is basically an option where you have a four options. That is, we have a basic support plan, we have a developer support plan, business support plan, and enterprise support plan. We have four options there.
Yeah, can you
Out
just explain about this?
Yes.
Yeah.
So basically, when you go for the support plan, the thing is that, see, this is nothing regarding your AWS account, but what kind of support you're getting from Amazon. That's the only thing. Like if you go for a basic support plan, if you have any account regarding your billing, your AWS account issues, or those kind of account and billing related issues are the only thing they will solve you if you basically go for basic support plan.
Okay.
At the same time, if you go for something called as a developer plan, the thing is, the benefit is that all the other plans, the benefit is that they will give you technical support as well.
Okay.
And what differs is the time duration, what level of support, and all. That's it. But for basic support, you will only get account and billing related issues only. If there is anything, like for example, I got some more amount in my bill, or I have some issue with my logging my AWS account. For these kind of things, you can contact the basic support.
Okay.
But if you go for other plans, you'll also get technical support as well. But again, that will charge you starting from $29 to more than 10,000, $15,000 will be there based on the type of plan you're selecting.
Understood.
Yep. And once this is done, the account is completely created and everything is perfectly done. And I recommend to wait for some 1 to 2 hours before we log into the account, and your account is created actually.
Great.
Yeah, one more thing I want to add you as a part of this. So when talking about this particular AWS account, many people have a confusion that, Krish, in AWS, obviously whatever we do, they are charging us. Everything
Hmm.
they are charging us.
Hmm.
So in that case, how can we basically make sure that our AWS account is basically, not charging me anymore? Like for example, now whatever I do or whatever basically login or whatever we do, normally the AWS will charge you, right? But for people who want to test this account or people who want to learn things,
Hmm.
there is an option called as a free tier.
Okay.
So using the free tier, the benefit is that they never charge you for certain things within a
Example
limit.
of certain things.
For example, if you go to a storage service in Amazon called as Amazon S3, you can use that service free up to 5 GB.
Okay.
Like the same way, if you go to Amazon EC2, which is a service which will basically help us to create a server, that service will never charge you if you create an instance called as if you create a VM within a
Hmm.
limit of a T2 micro. That is a kind of hardware we are having, which we will explain further.
Hmm.
Like this, for every service, for most of the services, they have a free tier. That means for first 1 year, you can use a lot of services quite free of cost for learning
So
purpose.
I believe it can be a good way to start learning with this tier.
Indeed, for sure.
And basic practicals can be done with this, right?
Yes, for sure. Yes.
Okay. So do you tell the same to your customers also, or clients also, students also, when they come for the session? Is it possible for you to complete the entire training based on this free tier?
Like there are two things. If
Hmm.
it's my corporate client, and if it's my student. If it's my
Hmm.
student, I will definitely recommend them to go for this because they can do almost everything with this free tier. But obviously, while before within the whole training period, they may get charged up to like $10-15 maximum,
Hmm.
because some demos and some practicals we have to do a little bit more than the free tier we have to do, because it's not something we have to simply follow the curriculum. They have to practice more in hands-on.
Understood.
So they obviously there will be up to $10 to $15 maximum they can get a bill if they if they follow exactly my instructions.
Understood.
And one more benefit is that for the corporate clients, this is something which I'm telling you because it's actually very much useful for everyone. For the corporate clients, if you basically register for the AWS offers, like AWS will give you some offer. If you're a corporate client, AWS will give you email which states that you may get some free credits on AWS. If you get
Hmm.
the free credits on AWS, obviously that will give you nearly $200 to $300 credit, where you can play with everything in AWS.
Okay, that's great.
Yeah, that's about the account creation part. And once this is done, your AWS account is completely created and everything is done. That's it.
Okay.
Yep.
So once the machine is created, so you talk about multiple thing about storage and all that. So can you
Okay.
just touch upon this basics area?
So I'm just logging into my AWS account for showing you something on that. See,
Hmm.
when you go to any cloud platform, not only AWS, in any cloud platform, we are basically getting something called as a services. Okay, so you can see that in AWS also we have different category of service like compute services,
Hmm.
database services, storage services. Many kind of services are there. In fact, if I just share you one of my one of my experience, when I started my journey in AWS, it was like 30 to 40 services were their maximum,
Hmm.
and now it's more than 300 service in AWS. That means they will keep on adding things almost every day, I can say.
Okay.
And the second thing is that, see, if you take a section called as compute here, you'll be able to see a lot of services here, which can be used for deploying servers or hosting our applications or managing
What
our
is
activities.
compute?
Compute means it gives us the proper compute or CPU and memory capacity for
Okay.
like if you want to host a website, or
Hmm.
if you want to run a code, if you
Hmm.
want to process some data, if you
Hmm.
want to do a hybrid model, if you want
Hmm.
to basically do a monitoring for all these
Hmm.
things, I can get the proper CPU and memory capacity from the kind of service called as a compute.
Okay.
And
But in the compute they're talking about AWS App Runner, Batch,
yes,
EC2 Image Builder. So what is this different type of compute we have?
yes, that is the next thing I wanted to explain clearly, because when we go to AWS cloud platform, this is the reason why many people are getting confused. Because let's suppose I want to host a website. If I
Hmm.
want to host a website, I can use the EC2, I can use Elastic Beanstalk, I can use Lambda, I can use Lightsail, I can use App Runner. For all these services can help me do that.
Hmm.
But understanding what is the benefit or what is the key features of each of these service is the
Hmm.
only way you know how to choose the best one.
Okay.
For
Can we go
example,
by with example EC2? With the EC2 we tried once.
exactly. So if you want 100% control over whatever you're deploying,
Hmm.
like for example, I'm a person who is basically completely working on premises. I am moving to the cloud platform, and
Hmm.
here in the cloud platform, I just want to deploy a server as it is in my on premises, with complete
Okay.
control over operating system, with complete control over everything I'm deploying.
Hmm.
Then EC2 is the only option we can go for. It gives you complete flexibility and control over everything. You can select any amount of hardware, you can select any operating system, you can select any configuration, you can customize anything you want, you can access the operating system, everything. Literally complete control. But at the
Okay.
same time, if you go to something called as the Elastic Beanstalk,
Hmm.
it's a kind of a PaaS service where you will be able to only host your applications, and the cloud service provider will manage the underlying platform for you.
Okay.
Like that. That's the differences.
Fine. So if I want to create one machine
Okay.
in AWS, so example, I want to create one virtual machine in AWS because I want to host my web server. So what is the process?
So before we host a machine in AWS, means I can show you definitely two or three service on that.
Hmm.
But before that, we are missing one major thing.
Hmm.
Where do we host?
Yeah.
This is something which is most important for us. In fact,
Why
this
it's
will
important? I
it,
got a console, right? And this
uh-huh.
what do we call this console also?
This is called as a AWS Management Console.
Okay, fine.
And
Yeah.
just to add, there is two more ways we can access the cloud platform, which is
Hmm.
called as a CLI. If you go to AWS or Azure, we have a CLI option where using command line we will be able to configure our cloud services. And we have a SDK for developers. Like we have three ways for accessing our account, but this is the most commonly used way because it gives you a GUI and all. That's it.
Okay.
And one more thing. So how do I basically choose a region? When talking about the region, this is something which I want to explain a bit further, because before we learn any services or how these services work, we have to first of all know where to do things.
Hmm.
So, and why it is important. So let's suppose that we have a client who basically, or let's suppose we have an organization who is processing the data of a clients from Europe or any kind of a European region. That means we are liable with the GDPR. So what
Hmm.
basically happens, if I don't choose the proper location to store my data or create my servers, obviously it can cause a lot of trouble. It can cause
It can
compliance
backfire
issues.
also.
Definitely, for
Compliance
sure.
also.
Indeed, for
Hmm.
sure. That's the
Hmm.
reason why. For this is not only the reason. Like for example, now for the same region, for the same location, let's suppose I want to store some data. The cost will be different in different locations of AWS.
Hmm.
Like this, there are many factors we have to keep in mind, which we'll discuss further. But before that, I will just explain you how this particular infra is basically working in the cloud platform. And this concept is what we call as a AWS Global Infrastructure, where we basically have a AWS structured data centers across the globe. So if you go to AWS or Azure in any cloud platform, we are dividing this particular infrastructure they are having into something called as a regions and availability zones. That
Okay.
means that I'm going to AWS cloud platform, I can choose various locations across the globe, and these various locations or various geographical locations across the globe is called as a region. If you see India, in India we have two locations called as Mumbai and Hyderabad. Like
Hmm.
this, they have multiple regions and multiple availability zones across the globe.
Okay.
And just to show you a glance, yep, this is the one. See, now AWS is having 32 regions and 102 availability zones. That means that AWS is basically operating from 32 locations across the globe. Like for example, in India, it's basically Hyderabad and Mumbai. If you basically go to UAE, then we have a Bahrain. Tel Aviv, we have Jakarta, we have means it's like multiple locations across the globe we are having, which is called as regions. Now,
Okay.
when you say a region is a collection of data centers, or basically it's a group of data centers, and
Okay.
these groups are called as availability zones. Each region can be divided into multiple locations called as availability zones. That means if I go to Mumbai, inside Mumbai I am having a three availability zones. Like this, for each region we will be having a three or more availability zones will be there.
Okay.
So what is availability zone? It's a collection of data centers. It can contain either one or more data centers. That's it. So as a cloud consumer, except certain regions, we'll be able to go to any other regions we want. See, I can select any region here. I can go to any region I want and create resources there. I can go to Mumbai. I can go to North Virginia. I can go to Seattle, Singapore, Sydney. I can go to any location here, and there is no problem we have.
Okay.
Okay. Yep. Now, how do I choose a region? That's the next thing. So when choosing a region, there are multiple criteria we are having.
Hmm.
This is the four key things which we have to keep in mind while choosing a region. Obviously, the first one and the most important one is compliance, because if that is there, nothing else will be considered. First thing is compliance and regulatory things. Before you choose a region, always clearly understand, as per your compliance or regulatory or legal requirements, where we have to store our data. If our data is supposed to be stored in a particular country as per the law or as per the compliance requirements, then that is the only location we can choose. We cannot basically go for any other region because of cost or any other things.
Okay.
Okay, first thing is always about compliance. So choose the region based on compliance. So if I'm handling sensitive data or compliant, or this kind of a PI or PHA kind of data, I must look into the first factor called as compliance and regulatory concerns. And see,
Okay.
the benefit is that AWS is now offering from almost everywhere, so you don't basically have a trouble there. You can basically choose any region you want.
Hmm.
Wherever you are from, mostly you will be able to select any location you want, and they have data centers almost everywhere now.
Great.
The second factor we have is latency. So now let's suppose that my company is in India and my customers are from Singapore. So if I host my servers in India, the problem is that all the requests has to come to India. So what I will
Hmm.
do, I will host my data near to my customers.
Hmm.
So choose the region which is near to your customer's operating point. That means they will be able to access the region so that it can be much more faster when they deploy servers and all.
Understood.
And the third thing is cost. That's in fact a very weird thing actually, because when you go to any region, the cost will vary for the services for sure. For example, you are selecting, let's suppose, 10 terabyte of data in I want to store. The
Hmm.
same thing if you go to North Virginia or Ohio, they will charge you like 235 US dollars. And the
Why?
same, like it means cost of production, cost of management, infrastructure, like the
Okay.
cost dollar difference and all that. So basically, if you come to Mumbai again, it'll be again some $10-15 more, like that.
So according to you, where is sasta? Where is cost effective?
It's like North Virginia is the mostly I see North Virginia and
Hmm.
those kind of
So
regions the
you
most.
mean to say that if we compromise on latency and compliance,
Mhm.
we can go with the Virginia and all that because the
Huh.
cost is less.
Indeed, like, but again, we have to compare the cost for every service. Like, I cannot say that okay, this is the only region which is having a cost benefit, because certain services can be cheaper in certain regions and
Hmm.
otherwise. In every cloud service provider, they will offer us something called as a pricing calculator. Using the tool called as pricing calculator, we'll be able to check the exact cost of each services.
Okay.
And the last one is actually called as services and features. That means that now let me show you an example here. It'll more easy for us to understand. I'm currently in India, so I'm going to a region called as Mumbai. So this is a Mumbai region now. So I'm going to select a particular service here in AWS. So I go to compute and I select something called as AWS App Run. It's a very beautiful service actually.
What is the
I
purpose of AWS app runner?
This is a service which will help us to deploy web servers or web applications on that. We can deploy web applications, but it's container
We
based.
can go by EC2, na? Better because
That's IaaS service. Like you don't want to manage your whole instances. You don't want to
but
basically.
when you're talking about reference explanations and all that, I think EC2 make better sense because it start from basics.
Again, control, like what level of control you want, and most importantly, if you go for
No, no,
app,
no. I'm talking about from this practical point of view, just for this video. I'm saying.
if you basically go to EC2, it definitely will offer you a lot of benefits because you have
Uh,
a complete flexibility there.
okay.
But let's suppose I am a company who don't want to basically manage the servers, or I will give you one more challenge we are facing. Let's suppose that I want to host my application in a containerized infrastructure. I
Hmm.
don't want to have a dependency towards the OS.
Okay.
Then go for App Runner. It's more easy. They have it pre-configured.
Okay. Understood.
Okay. Now I'm going to select this service in Mumbai. I click on the service, and AWS will show me a message now. This service is not available in Mumbai region.
Okay.
That means that there are certain services which is not available readily
In
in
all
some
the region.
regions. Yeah, like
Okay.
it's not like for always lifetime. Maybe once they launch, they will definitely have it in North Virginia, but for other regions, they will slowly start deploying the service based on demand. That's it.
Okay.
This is the key factors which I always prefer, to discuss when we talk about choosing a proper region.
And what is your other perspective thinking about from a region perspective, from a security GRC point of view as a GRC? What are other factors we need to consider when you're talking about GRC perspective and all that?
Obviously, the first thing is the most important. Compliance and regulatory things is the first thing for sure. And the
Okay.
second thing is that when you say that you are going to a cloud service provider, before we go to the clouds, especially in GRC perspective, the problem is that the features also can be different. Like for example, now I want to have a particular kind of encryption or particular kind of key management or some kind of a capabilities in one region.
Hmm.
Before we opt for the region, make sure that they are offering the same in all those regions we are going for. That is
Understood.
something which is very important. Then more than cost also, there is one more factor called as a governance, like what level of control we are offering. That is almost same for all the regions, but again,
Hmm.
we verify all these things before we choose a particular region.
Okay.
Yep.
That's great. So what is
Yes.
next?
So like I will show you a simple example on how to create
Yeah.
a VM
Easy
or
to
a
machine.
server.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yes. Okay, because we are talking about EC2 for quite a long time. Let's go to EC2 itself.
Hmm.
So I'm just going to my service called as AWS EC2, which stands for Elastic Compute Cloud.
Hmm.
Team, it's quite easy for us to learn EC2. Okay, just we have to learn some terminologies. So I want to host a server. If you want to host a server with all the options, like we can have a more control, we can have flexibility. This is the best service we can go for Amazon EC2. The same in Azure is called as Azure VM. In AWS we call as EC2. That's all.
Okay.
So I'm just clicking on launch a instance. In AWS, instance means VM or a VPS or a server. Like for example, now if I want to launch a server or a VM in AWS, the same server or VM is called as a instance.
Okay.
So I click on this, and the console has changed a lot. And now what we do is that we have to give a name for the server. Obviously, again, this is most important factor. Like definitely, I hope we'll be making a separate video on this labeling and tagging criticality. We'll definitely learn that. So now, first of all, I'll just give a name called as a demo server.
Okay.
This name can be changed later if I want. And this is basically where I start by selecting an image, which is called as a AMI. So for example, now I bought a new laptop. I want to make sure that I want to install some operating system. Let's say I want to install Windows. I
Hmm.
go to Microsoft website, I download something called as a ISO.
ISO file. Yeah.
Right. Like the same way here, Amazon will deploy the instance for you or the OS for you. That's it.
Oh, OS is called as a OS
AMI.
image. What about the
AMI.
license and compliance? Because definitely
Exactly.
when you buy Microsoft and all that come with the license fees
License
also.
comes
Is
up.
is it free?
Not at all. Definitely nothing comes for free for sure. See, when you go for AMI, it can be an operating system or it can be an OS plus some application pre-installed. It's a pre-configured images are called as AMIs. So
Okay.
for example, I'm selecting Windows now. In Windows, normally it's a kind of pay as you go model where you don't have to buy the license right away. You can basically pay the money based on your utilization. Like if you use it for 1 hour or
Hmm.
2 hour, like that, there is a pricing model there. We can do it as per the pricing model. We don't have to basically pay any money initially. That's the first thing.
Okay.
The second thing is that there is option also where we can have a BYOL. That means we can also bring your own license for certain AMIs.
Hmm.
Like if you go to certain particular AMIs, like they will ask you to bring your own license. But
Hmm.
except that, more or for almost everything else, the license is basically included. That means you just start utilizing it and you can pay for what you're utilizing. That all.
Okay.
That's it. So I selected Windows now because that's more flexible to most people. I'm selecting Windows now. I scroll down. Then this is what we call as an instance type. That means that now you are going to create a server or create a VM. And obviously the configuration is now not same for all of us. For everyone, the configuration is different. So we can choose the different kind of a hardware configurations for different use cases. Like if
Okay.
I'm so sometimes I want to have more memory, more CPU. I want to have lesser memory. I want to have more storage performance. So people have a different requirements. So we have different configurations readily available here called as the instance types. In fact,
Okay.
we can create a server with a starting from 512 MB RAM to the 24 TB of RAM in AWS normally.
Okay.
That means AWS gives us a complete flexibility for selecting any hardware configuration we want. So I'm going with a very basic thing now called as a T2 micro, which gives us a single core CPU and 1 GB RAM.
Okay.
I scroll down, and obviously, if you in Azure, we have flexibility, but if you go to AWS, we have option called as a key pair, where if you want to create an instance, or if you want to log into an instance, the most secure way is that we have a key pair authentication. Like we have a public and private key, we have a key pair authentication. I hope most people are aware of it. So we have to create a key pair here. Key pair is something like an authentication factor we are having. So I'm giving something called as a demo key pair. I'm just giving a name. I can download the key pair on my laptop, and using this key pair, I can log into my instance I'm creating further.
Okay.
So I'll just save it here for my convenience. Then every server is basically created inside a proper network. Like, in fact, we will make a separate video for this. It's a massive thing, but we, as of now, understand that this is basically where we are giving option, getting option for creating our server in a proper network with the proper segments.
Okay.
And obviously, for a server, we need to have a firewall, and this is basically in AWS we call a security group. Like the same way we have a OS firewall, we have one more layer of firewall for our instance called as a security group.
Okay.
And we can basically add the rules for allowing or denying traffic. It's completely fine. It's flexible. Then we have to choose a proper storage. And storage here, in fact, based on our requirement, we can get hard disk, we can get SSD, we can get high speed SSD, we can get ultra speed SSD. We have different options here for getting the different performance for the storage.
Okay.
So I'm just keeping the default one. And obviously, that's it. You click on launch, and within 2-3 minutes, your server is now up and running, nothing more.
That's great.
So basically, starting with AWS is quite a simple thing. Just we have to understand the proper the terminologies and where to click. That's it. It's more easy actually.
And it's look good, how you basically validate and all that. This is a very good perspective you have set.
Yes.
So do we need to have some kind of a pre-review checks before we move to when we say okay, machine is ready? So
okay,
do we? Yeah.
So basically, now the machine is not yet ready. It's now still creating. That means that now like it's showing me running now. See, it's now showing me running. Even if it's showing me running, the system is not active till now. The VM has been created, but they have to deploy the OS image and prepare it for our deployment. So that is something which is they are doing now, and we have to wait for some 4-5 minutes before we start using this.
Understood.
And normally I give a tip to the students that if you see a message called as 2/2 checks passed, most probably the server is ready. Okay. But that is not a baseline for that, but this is just a something which we can start. That's it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, if I want to create one more machine and I want to communicate in these two machines, so what is the process?
The benefit is that it's already done. When you go to cloud platform, if you select the same VPC or a virtual private cloud, net cloud, or it's a network we are creating in AWS, if you create that, we will be able to definitely very easily communicate between these things, because by default, we have a role there configured for that by AWS.
That's great.
Yeah.
That is really a great insight, Krish. And I'm sure in the first part of this video, the people got the visibility about how to create a machine, what is it. So what is the next session we are planning?
So we'll plan about the different kind of a storage service in AWS, which will because like we have different use case for different different requirements. So obviously we have to know how to choose the proper storage for our requirements. That is the next thing which we're planning.
Sure. So hey team, do let us know in a comment box what is the further analysis you want in the next session of AWS storage, and do let me know how do you find this particular video series, and shall we make more videos on a similar examples and all that which give them a better visibility. This is all from our side. Krish, over to you. Do you want to share any final note?
Indeed, team, definitely we'll actually plan more sessions like this if you're interested, and based on your comments and based on likes, we'll definitely plan more sessions like this. In fact, we are planning for more things with more of a multi-cloud strategy. We will definitely do that for sure. Thank you so much, team.
Thanks, Krish, for your time. And if you guys new to the channel, subscribe to the channel and click on the bell icon to make sure you should not miss the future videos on a similar topic. Good day. Bye.
Thank you all.